Hello, this is PTTGRW, and welcome to Part B of your Kerbal Attachment System mod spotlight. In this video, we're going to be going into the KAS folder through Module Manager, and we will be editing the mod so that we can customize it to our own needs. Now, two ways to do this is you can just go into the folder, Parts, click on a part you want, and edit the config itself. However, we're going to be doing this through Module Manager, in which we won't have to change any source code or standard configs. If you're just doing this for your own personal use and have no intentions to distribute it, then I believe that does not break the license just editing the config itself. However, I'm just going to show you how to use Module Manager, but it's the same either way. Now, to get started, first you're going to need, or at least I like to get, a new folder. Reason being is once you grab a new folder, you can just call it something like custom configs. That way we can keep everything organized. And in here, we're going to need a new file. And we'll just start this as a text document, but when we open it, we're just going to hit File, Save As, All Types, call it helloworld.cfg. Now, the name can be anything you want. This doesn't matter. The .cfg is necessary to tell you that this is going to be a config file. And in order for it to turn into a config file, you have to save type as all files. Hit Save, close out, and now we have this, a CFG file. That's our config. Now, we don't need the other one, so we can just delete it. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is a little bit on how Module Manager works. For what we're going to be doing, all we need to know is @part. And that's, once I learn how to spell, @part is all caps, and what this does is this says @part in the square brackets, do something in the curly brackets. So we're going to put a part name in here, and whatever part name that is from Kerbal Space Program, it's going to do what we tell it in the brackets. And what we're going to tell it is we're going to add a couple modules, one of which being the KAS grab module, which allows us to pick up parts. Now, we're going to edit the truss one piece like I did in part A. And if we just drag in this here, it is called truss one piece X. Now, the folder name, or actually any name, doesn't matter. The name you need is if you go in here, name equals, and whatever this is the name you have to use, because it's the one the game registers. So if you just copy that, paste it into the square brackets, there. Now it's saying at that part in the config file, do something. And what we're going to have it do is add a module. So to tell it to add a module, we just type in all caps, module, open curly brace, end curly brace. And whatever module we're adding is going to be in these two curly braces here. And the first one we will be adding is called KAS module grab. And you have to set name equals KAS module grab. Now it knows that this module in between the two curly braces is going to be this. And KAS module grab has quite a few different parameters. However, I'm only going to go over a couple of the necessary ones. And for time, we're just going to copy them in, and I'll go over what each one does. Now, all of these do something different. These are the basic ones that you need. I'm not going to go over everything because that will take too much time. I wanted this to be pretty quick. Now, EVA part position. This is an X, a Y, and a Z coordinate system. This is what tells you where the part is in the EVA suit. A negative Z location means it goes behind the Kerbal. Now the direction is XYZ rotation. With a -1Z rotation, it's basically turning it 180 degrees. So instead of the part's top against the Kerbal's back, it would be the bottom. Custom ground position, I recommend you set this one to true, because if you do not set this to true and you do not give it any parameters under these two spots here, then you might experience a bug where when you drop a grabbed part from that's custom added, such as this truss, then it will appear like 100, 200 feet in the air, some odd distance away, and it will just drop and break. That is a bug. Storable. This, well, drop position tells you where it drops relative to your Kerbal, one measurement unit behind it, 1 meter, and rotation would be X, Y, and Z axis rotations. Storable means that you can store it in the containers that you saw in part A. Storage size tells you how big it is, and 20 is just what I've set here. And bay type, bay node, and bay rotation. These all have to do with the bays, and if you saw part A, then you know what I use these for. Now, bay type can be anything as long as it matches when you're actually creating the bay. So I just put container K. That's not one that exists, it's just a name. I could put something as simple as banana cream pie, and as long as I matched that below, then it would work. Now, bay node tells you which node of the bay this goes on, and since the truss has a top node and a bottom node, we've selected bottom. And nodes are those basically green connector ports if you did not know. Bay rotation tells you the X, Y, and Z axis rotation when you connect it to the bay. Attach maximum distance is set to 2. You can set this to whatever you want. 2 is the standard number, and that's just how far your Kerbal can attach the part to other parts. Now these three down here are pretty important, because attach on part basically says, can you attach this to a part? Yes. Can you attach it on EVA, meaning can you attach it to a Kerbal? And we have this set to false. And attach on static. Static is planets, like the buildings at Kerbal Space Center, and we also have this set to false. These are all you really need to, actually you don't even need these three to be technical, but I just like to add them for the truss. But these are all you really need to get a part grabbable and working. And I'll show you how to easily tweak these two numbers later to make sure it looks good. Now this is all we need for the KAS module grab. Now our truss is going to be able to be picked up by Kerbals. And this isn't all we want to do though. I want to create the same one I showed in part A of the mod spotlight. So I'm going to add another module, and as long as I keep it within these two curly brackets, I do not have to add another at part, meaning this is where the module ends. Let's create another one, and I'm just going to paste this in and go over it again. Now this is the bay part, or part bay. This is what allows you to connect them by storing them together and giving you that perfect connection. And you just type module again, name is KAS module part bay, and then all you have to type is bay. You can put as many bays with the two curly braces to close them, open and close, as you want in this module. We only have one set up for this container because that's all we need. And attach node, that tells you which node is the bay allowed to attach to the part. And we have it set to top, so the top of the truss will attach to either a type container K or type container B. And since the top of the truss is attaching to it, we have up here set bay node bottom, meaning we take the bottom part, the bottom node of the modular girder segment, and we attach it to the top of the bay. That way we basically are able to stack our trusses very efficiently and exactly on center. But if we were to take this rotation, we could rotate it, but we like to keep everything even. But that's all you need for the part bay. Very lightweight and simple module. But we do have one more for this truss. Now, the final module we have is KAS module container. And this allows our truss to become a container. And if you thought the previous one was pretty lightweight, this one's even simpler. You just put module, open bracket, name is KAS module container, and then you state what size the container is. We have ours set to 100, and what's the opening distance that the Kerbal can open it from EVA. That's it. You don't need anything else. The plugin will do the rest. That's all you have to define with the app part up here. Now, all of this code right here, this will get you exactly what I had in part A of the mod spotlight. However, I'm going to show you that since you can add stock parts, I'm also going to show you can add a part from Keythane. So to add the part from Keythane, first what we're going to need to do is find where our open bracket ends with the last bracket and get a new app part function going. So app part, whatever part we want, and we'll just quickly put our braces in there so we don't forget them later, because they are important. And the part we want to do is going to be the drilling manifold. And I already have the name of that set up. So the name of that small radial drill is Keythane _ small drill. Pretty generic, but it works. So we're saying at part, this part, well, what do we want to do? And what we want to do is we want to add a grab module. And just going to copy that in right there. Now this one has even less because this one doesn't use the bays. We have what's the name of the module, what's the EVA position, direction, custom ground, drop, rotation, is it storable, how big is it stored, and what can we attach it to. That's all you need. And this is just how it worked in the first part. You can just attach it to any part you want. If we change attach on EVA to true, then now we can attach it to Kerbals. If we change attach on static to true, then we can now attach it to buildings or the planets. And this is all you need. This is pretty much the most compact way of just adding any part you want to the Kerbal Attachment System for your own use. And I find this particularly useful when you attach radiators as grabbable parts from the Interstellar plugin, because then if you ever forget to put enough of them on, or you forget to put them on altogether, you can just send up an extra mission and retrofit your small satellites or spacecraft with additional ones instead of having to figure out how to dock more parts to it. Now, the only module name that I have not gone over, I've gone over grab, container, and part bay, but the only one I'm not going to go over is the winches, because one, they're a lot more complicated because of the way they work, and two, you already have 4 different winches. They all work basically the same way, so there's no real need to add more. And you can't just create an additional part to be a winch by itself, because you get some weird glitches and bugs if you try that. Like if we tried to make the Keythane small drill a winch, it would not work the way we want it to. But since the 4 winches that are already present in Kerbal Attachment System work perfectly, I don't feel as though I need to show how to add those. This is more of a basic overview on how you're supposed to add your own custom parts, so I'm going to be skipping that one. But I will see you next up in the Kerbal Space Program to show you that all of this code does work. Just don't forget to save it, otherwise it won't. And I'll see you at the Kerbal Space Center. Welcome to the Kerbal Space Center. Now let's go see if our truss and Keythane drill are working right. We'll just put one of those down for later use and find our modular girder segment. Nothing looks different until you right click it. Now if we look, we have our container and our grab functions put in and ready to go. So why not attach a couple of these so we can test them out in EVA mode. Should be good. And let's go check out our drill. And if we look, we do have the module grab on it, just like we set in the config. So we'll stick a couple of those on as well. And launch the craft. Well, now that it's day, or more like 2 days ahead, we're going to bring out Adam. He looks like he wants to do some work for us. And if we right click on these girders, we can grab them, something you normally can't do. We can attach, store, release, and open the container. Now, we didn't put anything in them, but they do have the 100 space as we specified, so that's good. And if we just grab that, then we notice that piece falls. And we can right click on here and, well, we can attach it to only parts. Can't attach it to static or EVA, but we can put it back there. And if we get close enough, we can store that one on it and get it nice and sturdy. Now let's pick up this with the G key, and this one we can attach on static, we can attach on EVA, because, well, we set it that way. Now attaching it on EVA can be weird because look what we've done to Adam here. This is why you probably don't want to do it with large objects because of this, but it is there. Looks like we're gonna have to get another Kerbal. Bart fell? Well, Bart fell. You're gonna have to go rescue Adam. He seems to have gotten his head stuck in the drill. Something only Kerbals are prone to do. And Adam's all safe now. But the last thing, and we can attach this to static, which is the planet, but the last thing that I'm going to show is, you see how it clips into the back of his helmet a little bit, and it's also clipping into the ground. Well, there's a way to fix this. If you hold down Control and press K, you bring up a debug window. And if you hold down Control and left click on the part, then you can open up the grab and you can see its position. And this will allow you to edit it. Now you're going to have to play around with these a lot to get it the way you want it exactly, but let's first fix the Y. If you look, it's clipping into the ground a little bit. And the Y position is currently at nothing. So let's take down the increment a little bit and up the Y by 3. Now this automatically sets it, and we're just going to drop it with G and pick it back up. There, now it's no longer clipping in the ground. But it's still into his head a little bit. So let's lower that a little bit more and reduce EVA part position and a little bit more, maybe 0.4 or negative 0.4, 42. Nope, too much. And you can just tweak with these until you get it the way you want it. Now you can change the part position, the direction, the drop position and rotation, the bay rotation, the max distance you can attach it. But do note that this is only for this one part. And also, to close this window, just bring it down, hit close. Now, while you're in this game instance, the settings you have only apply to this one part. As you see, this one doesn't clip into us, but if we drop it and we go pick up this one, it lets us, there we go, then this one's still clipping into our head, because this one is not set the way the other one is. So what this debug window is meant for, holding down Control and left clicking with Control still held, what this is meant for is for you to be able to write down these values and hard code them back in the config file. That way these are what the config reads every time the game loads. Because if we were to restart the instance of the game, then these values would reset to the config and this would clip into our head again, just like that one down there does. But with that, this concludes part B of the mod spotlight. I hope you did learn how to add your own parts to the Kerbal Attachment System. It is a very powerful mod, and I do highly recommend you get it and put in some of your own custom configurations. But I am PTTGRW, signing off.